Okay, write an algorithm in pseudocode which allows the user to enter numbers. As each number is entered, add it to a total. The loop stops when the total is bigger than 100. Output the total and how many numbers were entered. So let's pick this question apart a little bit. So we have to input numbers, and as each number is entered, we're going to add each number to the total. So we're doing some totaling as well. So we don't know how many numbers to enter, but we know we're going to be potentially repeating entering numbers. So the loop stops when the total is bigger than 100. Output the total, so we need to output the total, and we've got another over here, and how many numbers were entered. So we know what we've got to do. So first thing we need to do is perhaps we can set up our loop. So our loop is going to stop when the total is bigger than 100. So while the total is less than 100, we're going to keep adding numbers. So actually it says bigger than 100, so it means 101 is bigger than 100. So actually 100 will be accepted. So while the total is less than or equal to 100, do. Okay, so we're going to keep entering numbers. So we need an initial value for total, so the loop will start. So it makes sense to set the total to 0 because the total would be 0 at the start. And let's declare that. Now we're inside the loop, we'll ask them to enter a number, and we will input that as number, store it in the number variable, and we'll declare that. Okay, so we've got a loop that's going to keep going around. While the total is less than 100, we enter a number, input number. So what we need to do next is we need to add the numbers to the total. So total is going to be assigned total plus number. Okay, now we also need to know how many numbers were entered. So we're going to need to count the numbers. So assign count plus 1 every time a number is entered. That makes sense. Now we also need to declare count as an integer because it's a new variable, but also we need to set the count to 0 at the start so it has an initial value. So always make sure whenever you're dealing with totals and counts, always give them an initial value of 0 at the start. Otherwise we won't be able to add 1 to the count because it won't have a value, but now we've set it to 0. Okay, so we can end our while loop. So that's going to happily tick around entering numbers until the total is bigger than 100, and then it'll stop. Now we've done the hard part, but again, I mentioned this before, it's quite easy just to think, yeah, I'm done now, and we can skip to the next question, but actually we can't, because when we look at our annotations, we can see, oh, we haven't done the outputs, which is probably the easiest part of the whole thing. So let's just output total and output count. Now, I would imagine generally you'd be expected to put some sort of suitable output message as well. So you probably could have some like output and then in quote marks the total is, and then have total, and then also output in quote marks the count is, and then have count. Okay, right, that's the end of this one. Thanks very much. On to the next one.